Shalom, family. I want to start our deep dive today by just honoring the sacred time we spend together in the Word and in this pursuit of a sound mind. Let's begin with a prayer. Yahweh, restore order to our minds. Teach us to trust you where we've tried to control outcomes. Give us sound minds, disciplined thoughts, and obedient hearts. May your law bring us peace and your spirit quiet every anxious voice. In the name of Yeshua, Amen. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are taking the stack of sources you provided, your notes, your articles, your personal theological study, and we're undertaking a profound mission. We're dissecting overthinking. And we're going to look at it not as some minor personal flaw or, modern stress response, but as a core spiritual battleground that directly challenges kingdom authority in our lives.
That framing is absolutely essential. I mean, the modern world has sort of engineered a situation where anxiety is normal.
It's totally normalized.
And overanalysis is actually rewarded. The person who sends that 1,000-word email detailing every single pitfall, they're often praised as thorough.
Even if it stalls action for weeks.
Exactly. And people wear being in their head all the time like it's a badge of honor. Like it means they're deeper or more intellectual.
Or that they just care more. But when we look at the kingdom standard, that constant mental churning, it's costly. It keeps us exhausted.
It fragments our focus. And Yahweh never, ever called his people to live mentally tormented or spiritually distracted.
No.
And our source material points us right to the antidote. It's the standard of the kingdom, found in Isaiah 26:3. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee.
And that verse isn't just a passive suggestion, is it? It's an active promise, but it's linked to a condition.
That's it.
So if that perfect peace is missing, and for so many people it is, it's a clear signal.
A diagnostic tool.
Right. It's an indication that something other than Yahweh is occupying the mind's throne. It points to a displacement.
Absolutely. So our deep dive today is really designed to establish the proper hierarchy. We're going to take 6 powerful concepts, skills the world might call secular therapy, and we are going to filter them entirely through the lens of Torah, obedience, and kingdom order. Because the fundamental truth is this: the mind was never meant to rule the spirit.
Yahweh was always meant to rule the mind.
Always.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Let's talk about the cultural context that is just amplifying this problem today. I mean, human nature has always struggled with worry, but social media, it weaponizes it.
It's a crisis of connection, really. The algorithms literally profit from your instability.
They need you clicking.
Clicking, comparing, consuming, which means they have to keep you insecure. Insecure about your place, your progress, your relationships. They don't want you stable.
And you see it in the feedback loops. You overanalyze one tiny social interaction, and then suddenly your whole feed is articles like 10 signs your friends secretly hate you.
Oh, it's constant. Or the pressure, if you don't have this achieved by 30, you're a failure. And the world tries to rebrand this constant cycle, this analysis, as self-awareness.
Or due diligence.
But the kingdom has a very different name for it. Double-mindedness. And this is a theological term, not just psychological.
Right.
It undermines our ability to walk in any kind of spiritual stability or authority.
Which brings us right to James 1.8, which is just brutally honest about it. It says, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
Instability is the outcome. It has to be. I mean, it paralyzes us in our relationships because we're projecting scenarios onto people that don't even exist. It cripples us financially because we can't commit to a decision. And most critically, it makes us spiritually unstable. You can't take a step of faith when you're running a dozen paralyzing scenarios in your head.
It's pure chaos. And that chaos is the exact opposite of the firm, immovable foundation of kingdom order.
That's the battleground.
That sets the stage perfectly. So if we want to move from that instability to peace, we need specific disciplines. Let's jump into the first of these 6 Yahweh-centered skills.
Okay. Skill number 1 is the diagnosis. Identify the root. Fear versus faith.
I think we often mistakenly see overthinking as like a logic problem, a failure of logic. But you mentioned it's almost always about protection.
Yes.
It's rooted in this deep, often unconscious fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of not being chosen.
Or that big one today, fear of lack. And let's be honest, overthinking is a coping mechanism. It's the ego's frantic attempt to control an uncertain future.
So it's a control mechanism.
It is.
Okay.
And that drive to control, it comes from a belief that Yahweh might not come through or that his provision just won't be enough.
Okay, so if it's about protection, how do you distinguish between prudent, necessary planning, which is a good stewardship, and that spiral of protective, fear-based overthinking.
The line is crossed when the analysis leads to paralysis.
Mm.
Prudent planning leads to an action, a measurable step. Fear-based analysis leads to those endless loops of what if. We have to remember our core identity, which we get in 2 Timothy 1:7.
For Yahweh have not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind.
That verse has to be our anchor.
It changes the entire conversation, because if that overwhelming fear, that destructive thought pattern, is present,
Then it's not from him.
it literally did not originate from Yahweh. It's a foreign entity in the kingdom of your mind.
And that's the kingdom shift. You don't just shame the fear, you interrogate the fear with the word.
So what does that look like practically?
The moment you catch yourself spinning, you stop the scenario cold and you ask 2 questions. First, what specific outcome am I trying to control right now?
Okay, that exposes the idol of self-sufficiency right there.
Right. And then second, what am I refusing to trust Yahweh with in this situation? That question alone, it just dismantles the spiral. It forces you to name the area where your trust is misplaced.
That's powerful. And once we've identified that root, the next step isn't just to ignore it. Which brings us to skill number 2. Thought captivity, not thought suppression.
Yes. The secular world, it often advises suppression. Just distract yourself, avoid it, don't think about the pink elephant.
Which only makes you think about it more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Yahweh commands active engagement. We are called to be vigilant, active gatekeepers who bring every thought into captivity.
Okay, so if suppression is avoidance, how is captivity different? Is it less about stopping the thought and more about, like, refiling it under the correct authority?
That's a great way to put it. Captivity is discerning judgment. It's 2 Corinthians 10:5. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of Yahweh.
And an imagination that exalteth itself. That's a scenario, a worry, a fear that you start to treat as more real or more authoritative than the word of Yahweh.
That's the high things, a high place, and we are commanded to demolish it.
So how do we do that? Perform that immediate discernment in the moment. Our sources give us 3 really sharp questions for this.
Yes, when that anxious thought comes in, you immediately challenge it.
Number 1, is this thought aligned with Yahweh's word? Does it actually line up with his character?
Number 2, is this thought producing peace or is it producing panic in my spirit?
And number 3, and this is key, is this thought calling me to obedience or to obsession?
And the rule is simple. It's non-negotiable. If that thought fails those 3 tests, if it's leading to panic or obsession, it gets evicted.
No residence.
None. You actively reject its claim to truth and you replace it with what is true, the word of Yahweh.
This flows so naturally into skill number 3. Replace rumination with responsibility. This one, it hits the high achiever, the planner, so hard. Because we have been trained to believe that thinking is productivity.
We really believe that. We think if we just analyze a problem long enough, the perfect solution will just appear and we won't have to risk actually moving.
But the kingdom truth is that obedience quiets the mind faster than analysis ever will.
Ever. We'll spend 6 weeks trying to mentally predict every possible outcome of a situation when just taking that one small step of obedience.
The thing you already know you're supposed to do.
The thing you know, he already commanded. It silences that whole internal debate instantly.
It's the paralysis of planning. I know this one personally. I can spend an entire afternoon perfecting the ideal workout plan, analyzing the perfect diet.
Creating the spreadsheet.
Yes, creating the whole schedule.
Yeah.
And then I fail to do the first push-up. That is analysis stalling action.
And it's an ancient failure. Ecclesiastes 11:4 talks about this perfectly. He that observeth the wind shall not sow, and he that regardeth the clouds shall not reap.
Wow. The implication is so clear there.
If you just keep analyzing the conditions, the economy, your feelings, the chances of failure, you'll never move. You'll never plant the seed. You will starve because you analyzed instead of acted.
So the kingdom shift is immediate. You replace the paralyzing question, what if it doesn't work?
With the actionable question, what did Yahweh tell me to do next? That's it. Overthinking is designed to stall your obedience.
But obedience silences the overthinking.
It's the command that shuts it down.
Okay, our 4th skill deals with the timing of our spiritual engagement. Prayer as a response, not a last resort. And this is such a common pattern when we're stressed.
We all do this. We exhaust ourselves in a mental loop first. We rehearse the difficult conversation 10 times.
Arguing with imaginary people.
Writing imaginary emails in our head, cycling through the same catastrophe scenarios. And then, only then, after our mental engine is totally overheated, do we finally see prayer as the backup plan.
It's like we come to Yahweh saying, well, I tried everything I could think of with my own mind, and I failed, so now it's your turn.
But look at the instruction in Philippians 4:67, be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto Yahweh.
The instruction is to start there, not end there. The emphasis is on everything.
Everything, not just the huge life crises, the everyday mental loops.
So the simple revolutionary insight is this. If you can replay it, you can pray it.
That is the key.
Yeah.
That's how you interrupt the pattern. The second that mental loop starts, the moment you start writing that angry email in your head or rehashing a mistake, that is your cue.
That's the trigger.
That's the trigger to take it immediately into prayer. Prayer breaks the loop because it shifts the entire burden, intellectual, emotional, from your finite, anxious mind to the infinite sovereignty of the kingdom.
You're exchanging the heavy mantle of control for the light yoke of trust.
Exactly.
And that exchange of burdens, it often requires physical stillness, which brings us to skill number 5. And this one requires us to get physical. Sabbath, stillness, and nervous system obedience.
Yes.
We have to confront the fact that some of our overthinking is just chronic depletion. It's a lack of mandated rest.
Rest is not a suggestion. It is a core kingdom command. Exodus 20:8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. We usually focus on the spiritual sanctity of that.
Right, the holiness aspect.
But we have to recognize that Sabbath observance is also profoundly neurological.
Okay, tell us more about that, the neurological aspect, because the world trains us to be constantly on.
Constantly. I mean, we are intentionally overriding the brain's default setting for vigilance. The world has trained your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight, to be constantly firing.
From the noise, the notifications, the urgency.
All of it. Sabbath forces the parasympathetic system to engage. It is biological surrender.
That makes perfect sense why stillness feels so uncomfortable, even threatening to an overthinker.
It does.
The nervous system has literally been trained by the world, not by Yahweh's design. Silence feels like danger because the brain has been trained by constant stimulation to panic when all that input stops.
That's the kingdom reality. Sabbath is the intentional discipline that retrains your mind to trust again. It forces a comprehensive mandated pause on productivity and on anxious analysis. We submit our schedule to His order, and our mind has to follow.
Okay, so our final skill is critical. It takes all this internal work and it manifests it externally. It closes a loop. Speech that reprograms the mind. Overthinkers, we reinforce the prison of anxiety with our own words, our own habitual negative declarations.
We reinforce the spiral with the most powerful tool we have, our tongue. And we hear it all the time. I always mess things up. I just know something bad is coming.
This never works out for me, so why even bother?
Those words, those repeated phrases, they are personal spiritual programming. They are literally cementing the neural pathways of anxiety and defeat in your brain.
And this is why Proverbs 18.21 is both a clear warning and a powerful promise. It says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. We have to take that literally.
You are making a choice every single time you speak, even about small things. Your words are either reinforcing the voice of fear or they're reinforcing the certainty of faith. There is no neutral ground.
So the kingdom practice here is active spiritual warfare. You have to speak scripture out loud when your mind spirals.
Yes, out loud.
So when that voice of anxiety says you're going to fail this week, you have to verbally counter it. You speak, I can do all things through Yeshua who strengthens me.
Or, my God shall supply all my need according to His riches and glory. You have to speak it. We know faith enters through hearing. And that is true even when the voice speaking is your own.
That's so important.
The moment you introduce the sound of Yahweh's truth into your own mental environment, you are physically tearing down the auditory and mental pathway of the lie. You are actively reprogramming your own operating system with the word.
Wow. So as we step back and we look at this whole cultural landscape, it's just so clear. We are living in a society where burnout is normal.
Anxiety is an aesthetic.
Yes, and overthinking is constantly rebranded as deep thinking. But Yahweh calls His people to be set apart, to be distinct from this wearying cycle.
And this isn't just about feeling better. It's about being effective for the kingdom. And that demands active warfare on the spiritual battleground of the mind. Romans 12.2 lays it out. It's our marching orders. Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
And transformation, renewal, those are not passive things that just happen to you.
Not at all.
They require intentional retraining, actively choosing these 6 skills every single time that mental engine starts revving for no reason. You have to put in the work to override the world's programming.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, right now? Let's leave you with a final provocative thought to sit with. Overthinking is not a personality trait.
Say that again?
It is not a personality trait that you were born with, that you're destined to carry forever.
It is a signal, a flashing, urgent signal that trust needs to be restored.
That obedience needs to be recentered.
And that Yahweh needs to be enthroned in the mind again, above everything else.
And when you look at the infinite gap between our human anxiety and divine stability, you realize the gulf is immense. But the solution is near. It's anchored in truth. We look to Isaiah 55:8-9 for that comfort.
For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith Yahweh. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts.
Thank Yahweh for that.
Thank Yahweh for that difference. Our anxious thoughts, they lead to instability. His elevated thoughts lead to perfect peace. We just encourage you to take these 6 disciplines, fear versus faith, captivity, responsibility, prayer, Sabbath, and speech, and apply them daily as you seek that sound mind anchored in Yahweh's eternal order.
We pray this deep dive helps you move from endless rumination to glorious revelation.
Let's close with a final word of prayer. Yahweh, restore order to our minds. Teach us to trust you where we've tried to control outcomes. Give us sound minds, disciplined thoughts,